Everybody, it's Onorato and Company. It's Chris. What's up, everybody? It's Onorato and Company. It's Chris. It's Ashley. I'm live from Novice Clothing Company, one of our business partners here on the show, and the beautiful headquarters and showroom they have just off Wolf Road in Latham. Ash, we got a ton to do on this show, so I'm not wasting any time. Let's just do it. NBA, Stanley Cup playoffs. Colin Mochrie from Whose Line Is It Anyway will join us on the show. John Kmack, the executive director of GymRat Live, which will bring in some of the best high school basketball players around the country to the 518 this coming weekend. Maybe Carmelo Anthony will be in the house as well. His son is scheduled to play, so you might see Melo at the Impact Center in Halfmoon. And we're always following the pack here on O & Co. Let's go.
This is Onorato and Company, sponsored by Alpha House.
All right, Ash, the NBA playoffs start for real over the weekend. For real. This playing stuff, I'm already done with it. I'm already done with it. The games haven't been very good. So I always say to people,
what are you talking about? You were asleep last night for all of it.
Most of it. I didn't need to see any of it. I mean, you're telling me that Timberwolves team belongs in the playoffs? Anthony Edwards was 3 of 17 and 0-9.
Awesome.
Okay, fine. I always say to people, you want the college football playoff expanded, you want the NCAA tournament expanded. That's fine. You just get more of something. Doesn't mean you're getting more good of something. It's just more basketball. It's just giving more teams an opportunity to get into the playoffs. Fine, but ultimately we would have gotten the top 8 and I think the best 8 anyway. And yes, I understand that the Hawks beat the Heat and okay, fine. But I think we could have settled this 1 through 8 and not worried about 9 and 10.
Okay. I would argue that it makes me interested in the playoffs and NBA basketball more than it would otherwise. I mean, I watched games last night. Normally I don't.
That's because they were on. This is we have a problem. If it's on, we're watching it. Doesn't mean it's good. If the Yankees played a night game last night, you're not watching the NBA, you're watching the Yankees.
Raptors Bulls was really good.
Okay. So the NBA playoffs, in my opinion, start for real over the weekend. The teams that didn't need to play their way in, they actually were in to begin with. Let's do a little roll call here. Our guy, Jay Pulatsky, checking in. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Sam, Carol, Nick with a little hooday. Yeah, I hear you. Nick probably feeling pretty good about his Orioles and the way they're playing right now.
No doubt.
I would imagine. Tease this, GymRat Live is this weekend, Saturday, Sunday at the Impact Center in Halfmoon. Some of the best high school basketball players from the country will be here, and they've seen top recruits come through here in the last handful of years as well. And Jay's brother, Joey, will be on the call for some of those games as well. Nick is calling for Ryan Mountcastle to be the MVP. It's a little much, obviously. But I'll tell you what, they didn't miss on Adley Rutschman. That kid is going to be a really good player for a really long time. Really long time. All right, so the NBA playoffs. Can the Kings do it? This is what I am most interested in here just because, obviously, of our guy Kevin Huerter. But can the Kings somehow get past the defending champion Warriors in the first round? You know, I was watching the standings and I was watching the results of Clippers-Warriors games like a hawk for the final 2 weeks of the season because I was hoping Sacramento wouldn't have to deal with Golden State. But here we are, 3 versus 6 Kings-Warriors. What chance do you give Sacramento to beat Golden State?
I don't want to be that person, but I'm not excited that the Kings drew the Warriors in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Me neither.
But I would pick the Warriors.
I think this is going to be a good. I think it's going to be a really good series.
I hope it's fun.
One of two things happens. It goes 6 or 7, or the Warriors win in 5.
Yeah.
I mean, Golden State might just look.
So it goes 5, 6,
like
or 7.
Absolute. Well, Golden State might just look like an absolute beast. What I'm saying is there's no way this is a short series with the Kings winning.
I gotcha. Okay.
Unless we want to talk ourselves into believing that the Warriors will continue to struggle on the road the way they did in the regular season. And that's probably Sacramento's only shot here, is to win the first 2 games at home.
Yep. Yeah,
but
gotta
when
get
Golden
the home
State's
court.
been healthy this year, they're tough to beat.
Yeah. And it's a tough place to play when you're listen, it's nice your series right in California, not a lot of travel. But both places have been tough places to play. The Sacramento, we've talked about kind of the revival that has happened there with Kevin Huerter and company. And I don't think it'll be an easy place to play in Sacramento, but you know how Golden State gets when that arena gets popping in the playoffs. Those guys take it to a different level. Carol's right. Yeah. Been there, done that. How many times now?
Yeah. Right. All right. So are you picking the Kings or the Warriors to win this series?
No, the Warriors. I hope I'm right.
I'm going to pick the Kings. I'm going to pick the Kings.
You're wearing your Kings purple.
I am. That's right. I'm going to pick Sacramento. I think people have been down on them most of the year. They thought, hey, this is a nice story, but how good are they really? I think it's going to bet the over in every single one of these games. First of all, the Kings led the league in scoring. The Warriors are healthy and absolutely incredible offensively. Bet the over, but I'm going to take the Kings in 7. Kings in 7.
I'll take the Warriors in 6.
Maybe I've just answered my next question here. Who's the most likely to get back to the finals, Boston or Golden State?
I'm going to go Boston.
Milwaukee is the 1 seed, obviously. We know that, but good.
I just think you're talking about this was a Boston team that was inexperienced going to the finals. Now they have that experience. They bring back essentially the same team as they did last year. And I just think they're a better team. They haven't faced many of the obstacles maybe that the Warriors have faced this season, but throughout the year in the long term, they've been the better team.
Here are the odds to win the NBA Finals before we even get into the real playoffs. Like I said,
you want some money? Take the Warriors.
I'm with you there. Milwaukee and Boston. It was interesting to me
fun.
That the top 2 teams here are Eastern Conference teams because I think a team from the West will win the title, and I think it's either Phoenix or Golden State. We haven't seen the Suns. I know we said this about the Nets. We haven't seen the Nets the way they're supposed to be. We haven't seen the Suns the way they're supposed to be. And obviously a lot of that has to do with Durant's injuries, but we haven't seen the Suns to their full potential. I mean, when they roll Booker and Durant and Ayton out there at you, they've got as good a shot as any team to win the title. So I think it's either Phoenix or Golden State. If you're putting money, I would lay my money on one of those teams. Great value, like you said, with the Warriors.
Throw $10 on the Kings. Wouldn't that be fun? Gives you a reason to get. I mean, they win. The money's absurd.
I have the Kings to win the West.
Okay, wowzers. In a betting app, you do, or just in your mind?
Yes. No, in a betting app.
All right.
Yeah. So we'll all root for that. Thank you very much. It would be
I'll
pretty
certainly be rooting
good
for your money.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then you see the Knicks plus 10,000. Did the Knicks get out of the first round? Did they beat Cleveland?
No. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
What about you?
Nick. No, I'm on Cleveland as well.
Yeah.
But that might
Cleveland
be the best first
team.
Round series we see.
Yeah, Cleveland is a fun team. I don't know that they're better. They kind of exploded onto the scene last year. I don't know that they're better. I don't know that they've taken those monster steps forward that maybe people thought they would. But
with Donovan
I still
Mitchell
think
now,
they're really good. Huh? I love Donovan Mitchell, but I think the guys around him. Listen, they got rid of some pieces to get him to the Cavs, but I just don't know that people. Maybe they're not as good as I thought they were going to be. But I like the Cavs.
Yeah. All right. Quick timeout here on Onorato and Company. When we come back, a little bit on the Stanley Cup playoffs and early impressions of the Major League Baseball season. Back in less than a minute here on O & Co.
Teams, athletes, organizations, We're transforming the custom apparel industry through products and purpose. Claim your crown.
The Albany FireWolves professional indoor lacrosse team invites you to join us on Saturday, April 15th as we take on Albany lacrosse legend Lyle Thompson and the Georgia Swarm for Union Strong Night, presented by New York State AFL-CIO. Pre-game block party begins at 4 p.m. on South Pearl Street, featuring live music by Funk Evolution. Get in on the action as we take on the Georgia Swarm at 7 p.m. at the MVP Arena in Albany. Get your tickets now at albanyfirewolves.com. Join the pack.
And now back to Onorato and Company, sponsored by Alpen House.
Comedian Colin Mochrie still to come here on the show from Whose Line Is It Anyway? He and Brad Sherwood are bringing their Scared Scriptless tour. I almost mess that one up every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Scared Scriptless is coming to Proctors Theatre at the end of the month. And John Kmack, the executive director of GymRat Live. And then there's GymRat Challenge, which is next month. But GymRat Live is this month. And that'll be at the Impact Center in Halfmoon with some of the best high school basketball players from around the country. Will be here in the 518. Okay, because equal time, right? We don't do nearly enough hockey on this show for as much as we enjoy hockey. Here's my question about the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, the Devils are going to win the Cup, but if they don't, will it be the Bruins? Would you take Boston, which just broke the record for most wins and points in a season, or would you take the Field?
Historically, in my short time doing this, I would say I almost always pick against the President's Trophy winner. Almost always, because it never works out. This year is my exception. I'm taking the Bruins because they are the best team in the NHL. And I don't even think it's that close. And I just feel like they are so talented. They have two goalies who have essentially, not split time, but essentially split time and won a load of games. They're offensively they just throw so many guys at you. David Pastrnak, to name one.
What a season.
They're just so talented. And I don't see the letdown. We didn't see the letdown this season during the regular season. I haven't seen the letdown. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they win the Cup.
I'm with you. I rarely choose the President's Trophy team to make a deep run, let alone win the Cup, when it comes to playoff time. And so that's why I'm hedging my bet here. Give me the Field. The East is brutal. Boston, once they get past the Islanders, I'll presume, you're going to play either Toronto or Tampa. Not easy. Then you've got to deal
easier than past years.
Then you're probably dealing with either New Jersey or I'm going to say the Rangers. So, and that's just the East. Out West, Edmonton's playing as well as anybody. Colorado is stacked. We know that, can score with any team out there. I just don't think it's easy enough here for Boston. I feel like they will trip up somewhere along the way. They've rested some of their older guys despite chasing history, that maybe they'll be fresher than I think they will be. But I'm going to hedge my bet here and take the Field over the Bruins. Here are the odds to win the Cup.
They lose. I think it's in the Cup. I think they get through the East.
Ooh, I think okay.
You don't.
Okay.
I know. I get it. But yeah.
Well, listen, I watched a Bruins-Devils game not that long ago. It was Saturday night. It felt like Boston was playing with 7 guys out there, maybe 8. I mean, they were constantly around and on the puck. It was very frustrating to watch, but maybe they are that good. Colorado behind Boston, and then Toronto, Edmonton, New Jersey, New York. That's in exact order. I threw in the Kings and the Knicks and the NBA just for the fun of it. This is exact order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there you go. Who do you like if not Boston? Value
Edmonton. I think that's really good value for Edmonton. I'm not going to go with Colorado because I just think it's better value for like a guy like Connor McDavid could essentially single-handedly take you to a Stanley Cup. He's the best player on the planet. They're also stacked. And maybe it's their time. I don't know. Maybe it's the Leafs' time. That's a team that can't seem to get out of its own way when it comes to the playoffs. Can't get through the first round. Is this the year they finally do that? Is it Canada's turn? You know, Montreal was there not that long ago, but is it finally Canada's turn to get the cup back? We'll see.
Yeah, maybe. All right, we'll take another time out here on Onorato and Company. When we come back, Colin Mochrie from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And we even talk a little bit of hockey with him. He's got some history living in all parts of Canada, experiencing the Canadiens, the Leafs, and the Oilers as well. He will join us here on Onorato and Company when we come back in only 30 seconds. Hang on, everyone.
I don't care what kind of stories that's been told on you. That may be a lot of things in life you used to do. If you can't give true love to me, I'll understand. Just do the best you can.
Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs and 95 calories.
And now back to Onorato and Company, sponsored by Alpenhaus.
We're back on Onorato and Company. It's Chris and Ash, and this is a show that's been going for more than 2 decades. Whose Line Is It Anyway? Grew up watching it. It is hysterical still today, and it's so good and so popular that 2 of the mainstays of the show decided we can do more. We can take this show on the road, and that's exactly what Colin Mochrie and Brad Sherwood are doing. They're coming to Proctors Theatre. It's a Friday night, April 28th in Schenectady at 7:30. Hilarious. So there's some clips out there already online of what these guys do on stage. It's called Scared Scriptless, Ash.
Listen, I grew up like you did. I grew up watching Whose Line. So this is, it'll be hilarious. And it'll just kind of be like a blast from the past with these 2 guys who were basically, you know, in your living room every night, making you laugh. And it was stuff you could watch with your parents that probably went over kids' heads, but was clean enough to be on television.
You know, maybe that's a good place to start, is how much of this on the main stage of Proctors Theatre would you be uncomfortable watching with your parents, even if you're 40 years old like me? Is it get a little uncomfortable sitting with your parents? How good is this? We've got Colin Mochrie on the show with us this week on Onorato and Company. Colin, how much of this show would make you uncomfortable sitting next to your parents?
Oh, absolutely none of it. You know, we're very aware of the reason people are coming to see the show is because they know us from that show. So it's never more uncomfortable than it would be on television. We're very aware we have a wide demographic. So I'm pretty good. I mean, Brad sometimes gets, anyway, you'll see.
Yeah. The show, again, is April 28th, 7:30. It's a Friday night at Proctors Theatre. Scared Scriptless is the show. And this is brave of you guys to go into a theater in front of an audience. You don't know any of these people, to take suggestions from them. Why is that I get what's behind it, but why was that really kind of the landing point where you thought, you know, yeah, we're good enough to do this?
Basically, it comes down to laziness. Who has time to write funny things? We don't. So we thought, hey, what's a better way of doing this? Just have the audience shout out ideas. We'll make up some crap and then we leave. It's that simple.
Colin, so we're married, the 2 of us, Chris and I are married, and Chris is quick to tell me that I don't laugh a lot. It's not because I don't think things are funny, but apparently I don't laugh a lot. I remember laughing a lot at Whose Line, and I think I would laugh a lot on this show in Scared Scriptless. What can people expect? Is it going to have that Whose Line feel, and how different will it be from that?
Oh, yeah. We say it's sort of a live version of Whose Line without the dead weight, which, you know, is Wayne and Ryan. Let's face it. So every scene starts with a suggestion from the audience. It's actually more interactive than the TV show. We have audience members on stage with us doing scenes, but it's just 2 hours of hilarity. You're not going to learn anything. You're not going to get any smarter, but you'll have a couple of good laughs and get your blood flowing.
ColinandBrad.com is the best place to get tickets. You can also find them on Proctors.org. And maybe, Colin, the fact that Ashley doesn't laugh that much is the fact that I'm really not that funny. In your relationship, who's funnier, you or your wife?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
My wife. It's not that tough, actually. She is incredibly charming. She's an extrovert where I'm not. She hired me for Second City. That's how we first met. It was a tough audition, but I got it. So yeah, she's very funny. She's at ease with people. She's my mentor in many ways. So yeah, there's no competition.
Colin, is it difficult to have so much funny in your life, or does it get turned off like anything else when you're home, at night, or is there just a lot of funny in your life, even off screen?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of funny in our life, but also, I'm not on all the time because I think that would be very irritating to be married to. And there are times where jokes are not appropriate. And I've learned that very harshly at times. So these days, especially after the last couple of years we've had, we need to laugh. And so we found ways to sort of keep the fun going in our life, even when it seemed like the world wasn't with us.
Obviously, you have done so well at this comedy game, but I read, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if my information online isn't accurate, boy, could you imagine that, that you were valedictorian of your high school. Did you have teachers afterwards questioning your career choices, like, hey, you were number one in your class, and what do you do? Tell jokes for the rest of your life?
Yeah. No, nobody seemed to care about my future. And at that point, people didn't know what improv was. It didn't really have, except for, I guess, Jonathan Winters and Robin Williams, I guess, was starting at that point. But I didn't think, I want to be an improviser when I grew up, because it just didn't exist. I just wanted to be an actor. And thank God improv came along and sort of exploited the only skill I really have.
Colin, one of the things that I read also was that kind of put up the red flag, not the red flag, but something that kind of interested me was the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That's something that I think people will love to have on their resume, but it's also, is it like shooting fish in a barrel when you get that many politicians in a room and you can just have at it with any of them?
It's pretty, it was pretty bizarre. I mean, especially, I'm sure when stand-ups have to do it, they had to sort of put their material in to see whether there was anything offensive. We didn't have that because we didn't know where material was. So it was fun. We had many politicians and journalists come up and help us in our sketches. And I have to say, they all did quite well. So we didn't have to, really go for them, because, I mean, the thing is, improv really is an ensemble sport. We need everyone to sort of work together, as opposed to stand up where it's kind of us against you. So we were very kind.
The tour, again, is Scared Scriptless. It's coming to Proctors Theatre Friday, April 28th, a 7:30 show on the main stage. Tickets, proctors.org, colinandbrad.com as well. I am new to and I'm late in the game. I get that, but I'm still new to the history in both Toronto and Chicago with Second City and the comedic legends who have come through there. Is it a competitive environment, Colin, or is there a teamwork maybe that other competitive industries wouldn't necessarily understand? Because you all want to get, I would imagine, as far as you possibly can in this industry. So is it more competitive than camaraderie? I
think it's slightly more camaraderie. I mean, there is that competition. It's not so much against everyone else, but everybody has ambition. Everybody wants to do well. But especially at Second City, you have to work together, because you're working together to come up with scenes for the show. You're improvising every night. And the longer you stay together as a cast, my castmates are still really good friends of mine. And I think that is something across the board with Second City. The cast really it's like going through the trenches together. You've gone through the bad audiences, the good audiences, and you've bonded. So it really is... It really was a special time.
I was going to say, Chris, you called it history, and Colin, you were part of that history, but I think that's maybe part of your story that people wouldn't know about. They think like, oh, you just made it on Whose Line. Well, that's not exactly how it works. It's how much of a grind is trying to, quote unquote, make it in this industry. I had read that you got cut twice from UK Who's Line before you made it as a mainstay. So it's not just like you're funny, you're in.
No, it is not. Not even close. I mean, it's difficult anyway. Just say you want to be an actor, getting into that business. But with comedy, it's also difficult because everyone's sense of humor is so specific to them. So to find something common for everyone to laugh at and find you funny is really tough. And you really can't learn it from a book or from a class. The only way you learn is by doing it. And so you learn very quickly where your weak points are, where your strong points are, and you learn to keep moving.
Why is the relationship you have with Brad so successful and unique?
He has pictures of me in a bad situation, so
that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've known each other for almost 40 years now, so we're really good friends. We've actually gone on vacations with our wives together, and we have sort of a sibling relationship that comes out on stage. So we're very comfortable with each other. We have a lot of trust in each other, which is something that's very important in improv. So I think the audience sees how much we enjoy each other and how much we enjoy making things tough for each other, because that makes it fun for us.
Colin, is there a moment that you remember, whether it was you didn't get a laugh at a joke or something just kind of flopped, when you realized like, okay, I need to be able to laugh at myself and be able to let things roll off my back in order to continue on in this journey?
Actually, I've never bombed. So
I bet you haven't.
Let me see if I can get Brad on the phone, because he has much more. There are times where you think, oh, this is a really funny joke. It pops into your mind. You say it and there's nothing. So my thing is, oh, the audience are idiots. I'll just keep going. And that works for me. There are times. If you do it enough times in a row, you think, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm the problem. But the beauty of improv is the audience is very forgiving, because they basically just remember the last thing you did. So as long as you keep going, show that there's a thing called embracing the bomb, because there's no way you can get around it. You're going, at some point, it's not going to work. So you just embrace it. You enjoy it. You give the audience a chance to go, oh, he's doing fine with it. Let's move on.
I've got a couple of Canadian questions for you here before we let you go. In 2013, you were named Canada's Comedy Person of the Year. What did that mean to you to get that honor?
I mean, it was lovely. There were a lot of great comedy up here, from sketch, improv, stand-up. So it was very, and it's voted on by your peers. So it was very special. I mean, let's face it, it was 9 years ago. So time to pick it up again. People.
I was going to ask, does it hurt to then not get the call in subsequent years?
I got to tell you, Chris, it does hurt. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I lay awake at night going, where did it all go wrong? I'm still working. I'm almost 70. Come on, just even lifetime achievement award. I go for that.
Last thing from me before Ash gets final word. We are mostly a sports talk show, Colin, but we're the only of its kind in the Albany area doing this type of format on television. So being that our background is mostly in sports, having traveled and lived in most of Canada, far and wide, have any of those fandoms rubbed off on you, from Montreal to Vancouver to Toronto?
Oh, absolutely. I lived in those three cities. And when I lived in Montreal, in hockey, the Montreal Canadiens were like a dynasty that were winning every year. And of course, I didn't support them because I always went for the underdog, which was the Boston Bruins, who were last every year until they got Bobby Orr. And then I grew up in Vancouver, was there when they got the Canucks the very first year. And now I'm in Toronto, and now I'm wrapped up in the misery that is being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. But hopefully this year, past the first round, we're there.
Right. Colin, this is a little bit of a weird one to end on. You were born in Scotland and moved here when you were pretty young, moved to Canada when you were pretty young. How much has your accent changed over the time? Because you don't sound overly Canadian. You've also lived in the US. How much has your accent changed over time, and what would you classify your accent as now?
The Scottish accent was beaten out of me pretty quickly by Canadian toughs. So I think I just ended up with sort of a non-specific accent, just so I wouldn't get beat up by Americans, Canadians, or anyone from the UK. So I'm not quite sure what it is. I think it's the Switzerland of accents.
The most neutral.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. All right, the show again is Friday, April 28th, 7:30. Scared Scriptless. Scared Scriptless.
Yeah.
I've had to kind of
we came out with the title just so people would have to slow down when they say it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, smart move. This has been a lot of fun, Colin. We're big fans. Ashley and I are. Can't wait to see the show with Brad in town as well, coming up in just a couple of weeks in Schenectady. Thank you, man. Great to talk with you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on for cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair. You can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
You've heard of unsung heroes. The men and women of Nyskoba are the unseen heroes. For the past year, you've learned about our many charitable endeavors. Now it is my privilege to share with you the work performed by our members, the 20,000 state correction and law enforcement officers shielded from view. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions and are an extension of the police who protect our neighborhoods. Nyskoba honors New York's police and firefighters and salutes its own members who help deliver a peaceful night's sleep.
And now back to Onorato Company, sponsored by Alpenhaus.
That was fun with Colin Mochrie again, coming to Schenectady and Proctors Theatre, end of the month of April. Funny guy, funny show. Whose line is it anyway? We've watched it for a long time, and it'll be cool to see them up on the stage together, Colin and Brad. All right, this show I feel like has maybe been lacking some energy, and the only way to really
to me
amp it up is to bring in a guy like John Kmack and his GymRat Live showcase, which will be in the Capital Region, Halfmoon, at the Impact Center, both Saturday and Sunday. Some of the best basketball players, I kept saying around the country, but I know there's a little Canada flavor to this too, as well. So guys you've seen drafted in the lottery over the last few years have come through Albany and this GymRat Live showcase. Let's bring Kmack onto the show here now on Onorato and Company. John, it's good to have you on, buddy. How are you?
Onorato and Company. I was going to say I'm pleased to be on the Ashley Miller show.
Oh, there it is.
I mean, you're talking about best players in the country. She had to tell you continent. I mean, clearly we know who the better half of this duo is.
Well,
this
won't be a surprise then. Ashley had a major in geography.
Well, she said continent. You said country. So that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
John Kmack's the executive director of GymRat Live and GymRat Challenge, which is still to come here this spring. But GymRat Live specifically, John, at the Impact Center, I was part of it last year, man. It is, you blow this thing out every single year. It gets bigger and better, and you're doing it again with the number 1 recruit and the number 2 recruit in a class that people will see in a couple of years, man. How are you pulling in this type of talent every year?
It's a high wire act without a net. But we started this thing, came out of the pandemic, right, when we couldn't run our regular GymRat Challenge events, which are 300 teams. And then we got a phone call from some of our friends at Nike who said, hey, this was in May of 2020. And they said, when this pandemic thing ends, like in August, right, which is what we all thought and hoped. Little did we know, right? When this pandemic thing ends in August, we need a place for our guys to play. And we know you'll put on a quality venue. If we send you 8 of our best teams, will you run something? And kind of what Nike was saying with that is we don't want to try to figure out how to run something during a pandemic, but will you do that for us? And my answer was a resounding yes. But that didn't happen, obviously, in 2020. It spilled into 2021. And it really set a new standard in the grassroots space. So we had at that event, it was the first time since national player rankings started back in the 80s that the number 1, number 2, and number 3 players in the nation were playing on the same team. That was team final out of Philly with Imani Bates, Jalen Duran, and Derek Lively. Duran, who was a lottery pick for the Pistons last year, Lively, who will be a first-round pick this year, and Imani, who's probably one of the most talked about high school players since LeBron James, probably. Talked about. I'm not putting him in that class of player, but talked about. And we ended up with 4 of the top 5 players in the nation, those 3 guys, and then Kyle Filipowski, who was Duke's leading scorer and rebounder this year. And I wasn't sure if that was going to be a one-and-done event. It was just a specialty event that we were doing, and then the GymRat Challenge would come back the next year. And then in the fall of 2021, all of those guys called me back and said, what's the date for 2022? We want to be in again. So I said, okay, I guess we're rolling with this. And we did a full broadcast production of it. So we really showed off not only the talent level, but we showed off Albany too, because these teams generally do not come out and play unless their sneaker company is paying the freight. And they really don't come out and play against other sneaker circuit teams from other companies. Nike doesn't play Under Armour, who doesn't play Adidas, right? But we've done that. And not only have we done it, but we've done it in Albany. So it's great for the area. These are literally the guys, like you said in the opening, that are going to be, shaking Adam Silver's hand walking across the stage in a couple of years. NIL is a big deal, right? It's big talk in college sports, name, image, and likeness. These are the kids that are being offered 6 and sometimes 7-figure NIL deals at the next level. So last year we had 18 of the top 100 players in the class of 2023. And in the past 2 years, we've had the number 1 and/or number 2 player in the nation in the classes of 2021, 2022, 23, 24, and 25. And as you mentioned earlier, we will have the number 2 player in the class of 2025 with us this year and the number 1 player in the class of 2026. So I should stop and let you ask me another question. Otherwise, I'll soak up all the time.
That's all right. We like that. You make our job easier. John, I know Chris was a part of some GymRat. Were you the challenge, Chris? You were the GymRat challenge. Yeah.
No, I was a GymRat Live. Yeah,
you were GymRat Live. Yeah. Okay. What is the relationship, and how much do you enjoy the relationship you've created with the Impact Center? This is a world-class facility for this area. It's brand new, and just the ability to show off these teams on such a big stage. What has that meant to the event?
I'm thrilled with that place. The year 1, we operated at the Capitol Center, which is also one of my favorite buildings. Beautiful building, and it run very, very well. But they only have 3 courts. And coming out of that first event in 2021, all of a sudden we had all the Nike guys that wanted to come back, more Nike guys that wanted to get in, going down to the DC area with Team Durant and Team Mello. And then the Under Armour guys called and said, well, how come we're not getting an invite? And I said, well, who do you want to send? And they said, well, we'll send you Team Curry. We said, okay, we'll find room. And then the Adidas guys called and said, well, we want to send you Kyle Lowry's Kalo Elite team. I said, we'll find room. So we needed more courts. And Impact has been huge for us. I mean, when we get to the larger GymRat Challenge events, those events are 300 teams, all right? From Florida, from Miami to Michigan to Maine. We've got teams coming in for that one. Actually into Montreal, again, continent, okay, as opposed to country. And so we need quality courts. And I don't know if we talked about this before, but Tommy Huerter, the dad, and I go back 150 years, right? We're business partners on a recruiting platform that we have that's gone great and has helped a lot of kids get to the next level. But Tommy and I played in the old Empire State games together, right? Remember, that used to be the best high school players in the state and college guys that were playing at Syracuse or St. John's. So Tommy and I played in the Empire State games way back when. I don't even want to give the date. And so, he and I was thrilled when they decided to build that, and the management is great there. They do a wonderful job. And just on another note here, talking about Tommy and I playing together in the summer of '86, I kept track of this, and I didn't know I was going to run back into him later on. For that whole summer, and we practiced. It was like a training camp. We were down here for 6 weeks, and then we played in the Empire State games. Just for the record, that dude passed me the ball 3 times. 3, okay? And that included practice, and one of them was an inbound pass where I was the only other guy in the backcourt. Ridiculous. So I think I should get free rentals at Impact as a result.
Not a very good sharer, apparently.
Yeah, not a good sharer. No. I mean, surprised his kids have turned out as wonderful as they are. That's Aaron Herter's influence for sure.
Yeah, they taught their sons and daughters how to pass really well. That's for sure. Those.
When you say they, that is an Aaron Herter trait. Okay, Tommy Huerter, not a passer nor a defender. Okay, nor a defender. One of the people ask, what do you remember about playing with Tommy back in those days? If he would miss a shot, now I was the only guy from up north. Everybody else was from Albany because I grew up in Potsdam, just south of the Canadian border. So I was the only guy from up there. And so these guys, I didn't play in the same leagues with him. I didn't play in the same summer leagues, but we practiced together. So Tommy, and he was a big star. Greg Kuback was on that team. Brendan O'Sullivan, there are a lot of big stars on that team. And if Tommy missed a shot, he would immediately look at me and yell, "Pick up my man, pick up my man." So he referred to me that in that way so often. I thought that was just my team nickname. Nobody wanted to learn my pick up my man, like Flounder and Animal House. That was my name. Pick up my man. These are true stories. He'll tell you. I got the team picture with the short shorts and everything. I was the only dude smart enough to wear the full sweatpants because I'm a forward thinker.
All right, John, a couple of things here before we let you get out of here. I'm only giving you one. You only get to name one. You're most excited to watch who this weekend? Who?
Well, I'm going to disobey that order. There, I'm going to give you a few. One, Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag is we had last year, we had 6 Gatorade State Players of the Year at this event. We had 3 finalists for the Naismith Award, and Mattis Bazelis, who was here, who's the projected #1 draft choice overall in 2024. Okay. But I would say this year, the guy at the top of that heap is Cooper Flag out of Maine, who is also, by the way, a novice athlete. Okay. Not only is he an outstanding player, but dude looks good in his gear. Dude looks really good in his gear. So he's outstanding. There are NBA guys that view him as a generational talent. He's a 6'9", do everything kind of guy. He's tremendously fun to watch. He's in the conversation as best player in the country by any class. And then AJ Dybansta, who plays for Expressions Elite. He's the #1 player in the country in the class of 2026 out of Boston, but he will be playing, for those that want to come and watch, he will be playing up in the 17U division. So if they go to gymratchallenge.com and look for the schedule, AJ will be with the 17U group. Rob Wright, who's was the Pennsylvania Gatorade Player of the Year, point guard for Team Final out of Philly, is a tremendous player. And then the number 8 player in the country in the class of 2024, Derek Queen, out of Baltimore with Team Thrill, is kind of like he's kind of like a Draymond Green kind of dude, 6'9", big, strong, hard to keep him from getting to where he wants to be at any point, but he will impede others' progress. And he's actually a high school teammate.
Draymond Green.
What's that?
I said that's a pretty good compliment when you give him a Draymond Green comparison.
Yeah, that's where I would kind of put him. Draymond Green, or who was the big Charles Oakley? I'd give him a little Charles Oakley too. Wait. Yeah. If Draymond Green and Charles Oakley had a love child, it might be Derek Queen.
If Draymond Green and Charles Oakley had a love child, it would never stop talking.
Well, that is true too. I don't know. I think Derek's a little quieter, but the bar is set really high there.
John, Saturday, Sunday, how do people get tickets? Can they get tickets at the door? Do they have to go online? How do they do it?
Ashley, you ask all the good questions. Okay, no doubt about it. Yeah,
trying to promote the event.
Everybody from all over the continent that wants to come watch this at the Impact Center, tickets are available at the door. Games tip off on Saturday morning at 11:30 a.m. There's games on 6 courts, and they run all day with the last tip at 6:35. Then Sunday morning, we're into the championship round. That starts at 9 a.m. with the championship games tipping off at 4. Well, there's 3 championship games, but the last one will be at 4:05. Then there's 2:40 and 1:15. So it's a great event. Tickets are at the door. It's $40 for a weekend pass, which is the best deal in sports because there's 73 games that are being played throughout. Can you see my novice gear? I mean, that is really.
Yep,
I mean, I may have a face made for radio, but I'm gonna tell you, I look good in this.
That looks good. Love it.
It does. Looks great. And you sound great, John. I know we had to wake you up and you're usually not a camera person. You're a little shy,
Yeah.
but we appreciate you breaking out of the shell for us here.
I'm straight decaf too, pal. I'm straight decaf.
Could you
It's
imagine?
the only way to live.
John
GymRatChallenge.com, GymRat Challenge on Twitter as well, which is we've tagged that for this show as well. Kmack, great to see you, man. Thanks for doing the show. We will see you this weekend at the Impact Center for GymRat Live all day long. Ash, you heard John detail the timing of that Saturday and Sunday, and the gear that you will see, and you saw John wearing it there, is made by Novice. And every player of the game will get the Claim Your Crown jersey and shorts made by Novice. So they are deep in with the GymRat Live and GymRat Challenge, which is awesome to see, which is such a great thing that the Capital Region has here, thanks to John Kmack. Let's take a quick break here on Onorato Company. When we come back, we are going to follow the pack with Jackson Reid from the Albany FireWolves. Back right after this.
Happiness is found in simple things. The sun on your face, sharing laughs, at the campground, getting wet, relaxing together, the love of family. There's never been a better time to go outside and play. Alpenhaus Pool Spa Boat and RV, bringing families together and creating memories since 1964.
You've heard of unsung heroes. The men and women of Nyskoba are the unseen heroes. For the past year, you've learned about our many charitable endeavors. Now it is my privilege to share with you the work performed by our members, the 20,000 state correction and law enforcement officers shielded from view. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions and are an extension of the police who protect our neighborhoods. Nyskoba honors New York's police and firefighters and salutes its own members who help deliver a peaceful night's sleep.
And now back to Onorato and Company, sponsored by Alpenhaus.
Back live at Novice Clothing Company, Chris Onorato, Ashley Miller. Great to catch up with John Kmack. He's still here. You might actually hear him. Which
I can hear him.
Surprising. Not surprising at all. All right, but on to our next guest here, because we love to do this segment each and every week on Onorato and Company, and that is Follow the Pack. And our guest this week from the Albany FireWolves is Jackson Reid. Let's bring him into the conversation here, Ash. Jackson, it's Chris and Ashley, man. It's good to see you. Thanks for doing the show. How are you?
Doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Good, man. Congrats on last week's game. You played well. The team played well. Did it feel as good as it looked to the rest of us?
Yeah, I think after going that long without a win, definitely felt good. The team was obviously really excited about that, but definitely felt good.
Jackson, Chris mentioned it, a really big game for you. You get your first goal as a professional, and then you get your second goal as a professional. And when I talked to Coach earlier this week, he said, you know what? It's great. It's like an added bonus when D guys score. But he said, I was most impressed with his defensive effort in that game. Can you just tell us a little bit about what he means by that? Like, what did you do specifically that stood out to Coach so much outside of scoring the team 2 goals?
Yeah, I think it starts with kind of the whole team as a whole playing defense. I think everyone kind of buckled down a little bit, focused a little harder on like what they had to do individually to stop obviously a really high-powered offense in Rochester. But I think it's just still getting used to playing defense. I'm not a traditional defensive player, so I think Coach Clem and obviously all the older veteran guys really helped me out throughout the last couple of weeks of kind of getting me settled in and feeling a little more confident playing defense. But I think just it was a full team effort on the back end, starting with Doug and Net, and then kind of going out after him from all the D guys to the offense.
What makes playing defense in box lacrosse the most challenging?
I think that, you can always get hit. Someone's always trying to find your back. Someone's always trying to take you out. But I think just how fast the ball moves, like he's going from side to side so quickly that you kind of always have to have your head on the swivel. And it's kind of always be ready for like the next play. Coach always talks about like nervous energy, kind of being nervous that something's about to happen to you. So being aware of what's about to happen next is kind of the biggest thing.
Jackson, you referenced it was tough to go so long without a win. You guys had lost 10 in a row. Who do you give the most credit for this team's ability to just kind of inherently stay positive and to kind of send all the right messages? Because every time we talk to any of the guys on this team, the message is always positive, always looking for the next win, and in fact, looking to advance this team and develop it for the future.
Yeah, I think it starts with our coaches. I think they do a great job of each week just preaching, staying with the process, trying to get better, a little bit better each week. But I think it comes down to our leadership. Our captains are some of the best I've ever played for. Every week they show up with the same mindset of trying to get a win. They put everything out there on the line. They've obviously been playing in this league for so long. Guys like Brett Manny, John LaFontaine. Those are two guys that obviously I look up to being on this team. But just seeing the way that they work every single week, they come prepared, ready to go, and kind of try to put that into everyone else and kind of get everyone else on the same board. So those two guys in particular are two guys that I think have really done a great job of trying to keep us on the right path.
Jackson, last one from me. Ash and I were joking about it maybe earlier this week, but it could have been last week. Like, boy, it feels like you've seen Georgia a lot. Do you feel like you've got a good book on this team by now? It seems like it's been almost an every other week situation. I know that's exaggerating, but it really feels like there's been a lot of Georgia lately. What do you feel like you know this team as well as you could possibly know them at this point?
Yeah, I think playing anyone in this league is hard. Every team is really good, but obviously playing a team 3 times, you're going to have a pretty good grasp on what they're trying to do, kind of like the way they like to play. So I think it's going to be a really great game. It's going to be 2 teams that obviously, like you said, have seen a lot of each other, so it'll be fun.
And what, Ash? They've won 7 of 8. The Swarm won 7 of 8.
Yeah, this is a team. So Georgia started 0-7, which you think it's over. But then you rattle off 7 of their last 8 games. They rattle off wins, and they've put themselves in a playoff spot. Jackson, do you guys talk about, you're not in the playoffs. That's already decided. Do you talk about being able to play that spoiler role and going out there and making other teams' lives difficult? Because you handed Rochester their 4th loss in a row last week and put them in a really tough spot. And now you have the ability to do the same thing for Georgia and take them down a peg and potentially push them back out of the playoffs.
Yeah, we don't necessarily talk about being a spoiler. I think we kind of mainly talk about like trying to get better each week for us and kind of going into the next season on a really good note. But obviously, if you can play a little spoiler, it's never a bad thing.
Well, good luck on Saturday.
Jackson,
I'll see you on the sidelines.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's right. Ashley does sidelines for your games every time you're home. You'll see her there at MVP Arena. Good luck this weekend, man. Keep scoring. That everybody loves somebody who can score. So just
D-man that can score.
That's right. Exactly. Like you said, you're not born a defenseman, so go out there and score the thing. Thank you, Jackson.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Jackson Reid from the FireWolves with us here on Onorato and Company. Okay, Ash, I know I said it at the very beginning of the show, but it's still true. No time to waste on this show.
And now, dirty, difficult, and done. Sponsored by Performance Industrial.
And a shout out to our guy, Bill Miller, and his entire team at Performance Industrial with this segment each and every single week on O&Co. Dirty, difficult, done. There is no job that's too dirty or too difficult for his team to get it done. Speaking of done, that's where I'm going with my triple D here this week, Ash. Ian Anderson's season, not career, is done. Now, I don't know how long you'd have to go back to when a pitcher had to get Tommy John surgery and the immediate reaction would be, well, he may never pitch again. I mean,
Not
maybe
anymore.
more than 20 years. But now it's almost like a rite of passage for a lot of these pitchers. And there are enough instances of guys coming back stronger and better after Tommy John that I'm sure he's completely bummed. And I'm sure there are a range of emotions that include a lot of nerves about what am I going to be? Will I pitch again? Can I make it back to the major leagues? But like I said, there's just so much history here of guys who have succeeded after Tommy John surgery. And I don't know how far back this goes. I would love to pinpoint that with Ian Anderson is, hey, was this just a spring training thing? Or would you say it affected your 2022 season as well? Because it sounds like it took him a while to tell the Braves training staff, my elbow doesn't feel great. And it turns out to be a complete tear of the UCL.
Yeah, and I know you said it's a bummer, but I think in a lot of ways, maybe it's a relief for him because you knew something wasn't right with Ian. Something had changed. His velocity was down. He didn't have a lot of control. And so I think maybe sometimes you think, well, now I have a reason why I wasn't my best. So maybe that is kind of like the silver lining to this. And you get your elbow fixed, you come back. Guys have come back better post Tommy John. So I think you have to hope that that's the case for Ian. And if not better, then even back to where he was, which would get him back into the starting rotation. If not for the Braves, then another major league team.
Yeah, and the Braves have had plenty of guys who have had one and multiple. Johnny Venters had like 3 Tommy John surgeries, and he was still a lights out closer until I think the left arm was like, okay, enough already. Enough from me. You're up.
My dirty difficult done. I just read an article about this morning. Adam Weitzman says he is done bringing NIL opportunities to Syracuse. That includes celebrity appearances at basketball games. We've seen him bring Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. We've seen him bring Gronk and Tom Brady. And this is what he does to contribute to the overall presence. He obviously, this is a guy that is self-made, has a lot of money in scrap metal. He's from the Binghamton area, I think, but loves Syracuse basketball and athletics and said, you know what? The chancellor doesn't want me there anymore. The chancellor has made kind of comments that says maybe he doesn't love the idea and fears problems with NIL stuff. And Weitzman said, you know what? You don't want me? Then I'm out. We'll see if this is true or not and how much it really affects the game. Listen, they just signed JJ Starling yesterday on the same day that Adam Weitzman announced no NIL. So we'll see if there is at all any, but I think people will be disappointed not to see celebrity, especially athletes, at basketball games if he really stays away.
Yeah, I think that's a bummer for Syracuse fans. That was always did you see who's sitting courtside at the Dome today? And how the heck?
They did it on SportsCenter all the time.
Right, like why is Julian Edelman at a Syracuse game? Well, Adam Weitzman, who knew there was money in scrap metal the way there is?
Right.
Apparently, the house in Skinny Atlas is insane. He was close to buying the Riggy Mansion up in Saratoga.
Yep.
All right, let's close on this quickly. Early season impressions from Major League Baseball. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Rays are going to go 162-0. But after that, what do you think?
After that, I'm a little surprised at the start by the Astros. 6-7 to start the season. Listen, it's not the end of the world. The D-backs also off to a good start at 8-5. Yeah. And I think for me, the Yankees are about where you thought they would be. They've won every series so far. And that's, I think, all you have to do to be successful. They're 8-4. But the surprising parts have been a guy like Franchi Cordero leading them in RBIs. So, it's been very interesting so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes the rest of the way. What about you?
Yeah. I joked, but honestly, for both of us, I'm sure it's been the 12-0 start for Tampa Bay that is just obviously it's not, it's real. I get that.
It's
but
what they do.
The pace is not sustainable. It's they lead the league in home runs, but they're not just outscoring people. They lead all of baseball in earned run average too. So,
Shane McClanahan has had Garrett Cole has been off to a great start. Shane McClanahan has almost identical stats to Garrett Cole. Both are 3-0.
Yeah, it's crazy. That division may prove to be the best in baseball when all is said and done because Toronto has started really well as well. Thanks for watching Onorato and Company, everybody. Have a great weekend.